We are presented by ESPN Sportsbook. McNutt is back and ready to roll. Bartholomew is fired up today. He got stuff to get off his chest. D. Wood is back for more, and that's not all. Take a look at who else we have up with us early this morning. We've got
twins. No, they twinning today.
We have Bobby Marks, who I think is trick-or-treating as Seth Greenberg today. They look separated at birth. Okay, everybody's ready to go. Let's do this thing. Let's start in the NBA last night. Raptors and Warriors, and it's Steph Curry and Monica. This thing took a scary moment. Third quarter, Steph is doing Steph things, right? That's good, and it's a foul shot, and the Warriors are leading, and now we're in the third quarter, and the Warriors are up 5, and just watch Steph.
Yeah, I literally was filling out my notes for this morning's show, and I had thoughts about this game, and then this happened, and everything sort of pauses, of course.
Yes, he walked off under his own power. We'll have a quick update for you in a moment. Let me show you how this game ends, because the Warriors would find a way to win anyway. How good is this Brandon Pajemski?
It's been great to see him sort of get healthy and find his stride. Remember, last year he had a little bit of a breakout sort of in that all-rookie team conversation, and then hit some lulls with injuries, but both Pajemski and Kuminga being back and effective helps his team.
And Jimmy Butler effective on the defensive end with the big block in the final 20 seconds. Draymond Green had a big night. Butler had 16 points, 11 rebounds, 12 assists, and the Warriors wind up winning by 3. Here was Draymond after on Steph.
He hit that ground hard. You can hear it. It's crazy. Obviously a very scary moment for us, for him. Hopefully he's good.
I think he speaks for everyone when he says that. Curry got an MRI last night. We're still waiting for the results. Missing Steph has, of course, always been an issue for Golden State. Since Jimmy Butler got there, for whatever this is worth, they've been much better without Steph. They're actually plus 60 in over 300 minutes when Steph is off the floor. Before his arrival, they had been minus 90 without Steph. So obviously Jimmy Butler makes a difference, Monica. But the key here is pretty simple. I mean, yes, with Steph, the Warriors are whatever it is we've been talking about for a while. Without Steph, clearly, all that playoff stuff becomes irrelevant. It doesn't look like we're going to wind up having to have that conversation.
Yeah, no, hopefully this is not anything that is that intense, but there is no doubt that the combination of Jimmy Butler and Stephen Curry has brought this team a new life. When you look at the last 15 games, for sure, they're averaging 10 steals. They're top rated in terms of defensive rating. They've been really effective on both sides of the ball. Now, without Steph, previously, there was no one else that could draw 2. Jimmy Butler is still capable of drawing 2, but we'll see what that looks like, because without Steph, you're sort of reverting back to what he had in Miami.
So, Bobby, this obviously is a moment for Jimmy Butler to take over and put this team on his shoulders if he needs to. They are currently 1.5 games ahead of both the Clippers and the Timberwolves in that race to stay out of the play-in.
Yeah, I think certainly Butler will lead the way, but Greeny, I think the X factor here, even if Curry has to miss some time, is the offensive version of Draymond Green. Last night, shoots 5 for 14 from 3, 21 points. Previously, 1 of 11 from 3 in the past 3 games, and teams are daring him to shoot the ball. If he's making it from the perimeter, they can sustain this even if Curry's going to be out of it.
Yeah, I'm looking up the numbers here. Draymond took 14 threes last night. So sustain is really the key here, right? I mean, that's what they need to do. They need to, we've used this expression with the Lakers without LeBron. They need to tread water until they get their star back.
Yeah, and I think a big part of it is you got to look at who their opponents are coming up. The Raptors, I don't know if you want to call the Raptors in a full-on rebuild, but they're not necessarily contending this year, and that's no secret. They're getting ready to go on the road. The Hawks have they've been dealing with a bunch of injuries. They've been in and out. The Heat is obviously going to be an emotionally charged game. The Pelicans are sitting in the bottom of the Western Conference as well, and the Spurs just knocked off the Knicks the other night. So it starts to get tricky and really intense when you look at that April 1st, starting with some of those Western Conference teams that they're going to be vying for positioning with.
And I'll make it as clear as we can make it. We have no idea how injured Steph is, and there's every reason to believe he's going to be fine and back relatively quickly. Remember, he rested the other day. Just this week began, Bobby, with Steve Kerr talking about how exhausted Steph was and needing a break. He gets the day off. They still find a way to win that game, and now he goes down here yesterday. Quick final thought on the Warriors, Bob.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I do think it's sustainable. I think what you've seen with Butler, and listen, if they didn't do the Jimmy Butler trade, this team was dead in the water with Steph Curry, without. he is basically elevated. He's made role players into starters, and he's made starters into top starters here. And as I said, even if Steph Curry is out for a few games, this is sustainable. They just got to stay in 6. They can't fall back in the standings, but they got Minnesota and the Clippers right behind them.
That's exactly where it is. They've got those 3 teams, and maybe even a few that are ahead of them, fighting for that final spot just to stay out of that play-in where you've got to play for your playoff life in essentially 2 days. All right.
In the Bay Area. Yeah, worry for Curry. What if I told you Golden State's biggest star is feeling awful this morning? Third quarter, Warriors trail by 1. Their Steph did have 17 points last night. Dubs take a lead on the Raptors. Here's the fall, though. Steph in amongst the trees, knocked down. It's just how you fall, honestly. And Draymond Green said it. He hit the ground hard. You could hear it. It was crazy. Curry would walk to the locker room under his own power. They're calling it a pelvic contusion. Steve Kerr said that Steph had an MRI immediately postgame. Buddy Hield has a 3, his only bucket of the day, but it puts the Warriors up 1. We go to the 4th. Kevon Looney only had 1 bucket as well, but we're going quality over quantity. That one puts the Warriors back up by 1. Brandon Pajemski, step back, pink shoe, got it. One of 6 15-point scorers for the Warriors. For just the second time in the last 30 years they've done that. Jonathan Kuminga was one of them. He had 16 points, but it was defense from Jimmy Butler that preserved it. Look at the block on Jamal Shead. Jamal Shead thought he was going to try to get to the rim and cut this deficit. Instead, Butler says, "Get off the Shed." Warriors win it, 117-114. Got Anscape's David Dennis Jr. sparing some moments with us this morning. David, the Warriors currently 6th seed in the Western Conference, but they're just a game and a half out of the play-in. So earlier this week, Steve Kerr saying of Steph that he's exhausted from carrying the team for a month. How do you think Golden State should manage Curry's injury now moving forward?
Well, first of all, happy 17th anniversary of Stephen Davidson beating Gonzaga in March Madness. For all those who celebrate, I think it's going to be a federal holiday any day now. Now, in terms of the Warriors and what they're going to do, from this injury, from what I understand, is a very painful injury, similar to the injury that he had in his tailbone a couple of years ago. So he's going to be out a few games. But this is what you bring Jimmy Butler into the Warriors for. You bring him in for these times when Steph Curry cannot play. If this had to happen in January or December, you'd say that this Warriors team is in real trouble. But Jimmy Butler's coming off of a triple-double in a game where they beat the Milwaukee Bucks without Steph. And you have coming up Hawks, Heat, Pelicans, and Spurs, which are all winnable games. If you're the Warriors, you have the luxury of leaning on Jimmy Butler, leaning on Draymond and that supporting cast, and you can give Steph time to rest until the playoffs, or right before the playoffs, because the last game of the season, they play the Clippers, which is going to have some real standings potential. So let Steph get as healthy as possible and lean on those other stars.
Dubs have 12 games left in the regular season. You mentioned Draymond Green. He led Golden State with 21 points last night in that win over Toronto. What have you seen from Draymond since they traded for Jimmy Butler?
So, first of all, we cannot go further without talking about last night. Draymond shot 14 threes last night. That is a guy that is clearly feeling himself on the court. He also led the team in scoring. That's the second time he's done that this season. He hadn't led the team in scoring since 2016. Draymond Green is really on a heater right now, offensively and defensively. Over the last 5 games, he's at 13, 6, and 4, 2.2 steals, 2.2 blocks. A couple nights ago against Milwaukee, Giannis was 0 for 8 when Draymond Green was guarding him. Last night, there was a play he missed a 3 and flew down the court like Deion Sanders to block an alley-oop. Draymond is playing some of the best defense of his career. And if he plays like this, combined with what Jimmy Butler's doing, combined with what Steph can do as healthy, this team has a ceiling of a championship with this Warrior squad.
Okay, we're going to bookmark that. 18 of Green's 21 points coming in the first half, is most in any half since 2018. And just going back 17 years on this Davidson Day for the Davidson Wildcat, what class are you down at Davidson there, David?
I was a senior. I was sitting in my dorm room watching the game. Had a little bit of bad food that night before, so I was doubled over, but watching and cheering from the dorm room.